Have you ever felt like you're losing your mind, not because you're failing, but because you're finally waking up? What if that anxiety that's keeping you up at 3 o'clock in the morning is not a sign that you're broken, but a signal that you're outgrowing the person you're pretending to be? We've been conditioned to view emotional tension, deep sadness, or a sudden loss of identity as a disaster. And for many of us, and for me, it has been. You run to therapy, you reach for distractions, you try to duct tape your old life back together because you think staying strong is the ultimate goal. There's a truth that mainstream self-help will not tell you. You can't reach your highest potential while clinging to a version of yourself that was built for safety instead of truth. The fear of falling apart is not a funeral, it's a renovation. If you feel like your life is shattering, like the world out there is falling apart, then stay with me. We aren't talking about how to keep it together. We're going to talk about how to let it break. Welcome to Season 5 of Roar. We're entering a new phase in our journey here on Season 5 of Roar. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your internal conflict and your messy emotions are actually biological requirements for evolution. You're going to gain a perspective that transforms your deepest crises into your greatest masterpiece. I've talked about this in a previous video, I think. It's called Demolish Before You Polish. Yeah. We're going to explore a profound psychological framework developed by Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski called the theory of positive disintegration, shattering your old identity to build your authentic higher self. If you're struggling with high achiever burnout or a crisis of identity, and you feel like no matter how much you succeed, you feel like a fraud who is about to lose everything, then this video is for you. From Lion King through American Ballet Theater, I've spent 40 years working with thousands of artists, executives, and high achievers who reached the pinnacle of their careers only to find themselves in tears behind the scenes because their souls no longer fit in the roles they were playing. Sometimes literally, the role you're playing is not the role you want to play on stage. And you'll find that who you're playing off stage is out of sync as well. And I've seen that the most successful people are often the ones who feel like they're on the verge of total collapse. I'm going to share a story about my own disintegration and the moment I decided to destroy a safe, respected path to walk into a void with nothing but a dream. And later I'll give you 3 practical tools to help you navigate your own breakdown without trying prematurely to fix it. Because walking with lions means understanding that some structures in your life must be devoured so that something more resilient can take their place. I call them lions, life challenges, unchanging circumstances. It's more than a metaphor, it's a way of life. Last season we closed with the idea of choosing yourself without guilt. But once you choose yourself, you often find that the you you've chosen starts to conflict with the life you've built. Most psychologists look at anxiety and tension and depression as symptoms that need to be cured or eliminated. Dabrowski looked at them and saw growth. He argued that people who have a high developmental potential must go through a process where their lower level psychological structures are broken down. Think of it like a caterpillar in a cocoon. It doesn't just grow wings. It literally turns into soup. Its entire structure disintegrates before the butterfly can emerge. Dabrowski believed that human growth works in the same way. In Dabrowski's theory, level 1 is where most people stay. It's called primary integration. At this level, you do things because you're told to or because it's just what people do. You're a smooth cog in a machine. You follow the crowd, you seek status, and you don't question the script. There's no disintegration here because there's no conflict. Sometimes as you go through your life, you get a spark. Dabrowski calls it developmental potential. You have that moment where you think, you notice that there's an inner sensitivity or a drive for authenticity that conflicts with your current reality. When that spark ignites, you hit level 2 and 3, and that's where the clash happens. This creates multi-level disintegration. It's called multi-level because you see 2 different versions of yourself at once. The person who works for money or status, or someone who fills an expected role, who you should be. The higher level is the person who longs to work for purpose and impact, who you could be. And once you see the higher version of yourself, you can't unsee it. You can no longer be happy with the lower version. Your personality starts to disintegrate. You might experience anxiety. I can't keep doing this, but I don't know how to stop. or shame? Why am I unhappy when I have everything that everyone else wants? Grief. I spent years building a life that doesn't fit me. I lived this. Decades ago, I was a chemistry major at the University of Michigan. I was a good kid, the one knowing the blueprint my family and community expected of me. I was on a track for a safe, stable, respected career in science. But inside, I was disintegrating. I would go to the lab and feel this hollow ache. I would take ballet class and my whole personality would light up like Times Square. I struggled to make peace with those two drastically different worlds. The tension became unbearable. My safe life felt like a prison. My ego was fighting to keep me in Michigan, but my highest self was screaming for me to go to New York City and chase a dream. To the outside world, if I had stayed and finished that degree, I would likely have been a success. Don't know. When I decided to leave, to walk away from that unfinished degree and move to a city where I had no job, no plan, no guarantee, people thought I was falling apart. My parents had a cow. I remember them. Thank God they did not stop me. I know they thought I lost my mind. My father, in fact, used to say, I thought you were running off to join the circus. And in many ways, I was. I was essentially shattering my identity as a responsible student and becoming a struggling artist overnight. That was positive disintegration. I had to lose the safety of the lab to find the grit of the dance studio. I had to break the version of Aubrey that made everyone else comfortable so I could be the dancer I dreamed to be. I would have been a safe, unhappy man who never knew his full power. I would never have found the strength to mount 14 productions of The Lion King all over the world. I could not have dreamed of this life that I'm living. And I was a big dreamer. Dabrowski's theory teaches us that anxiety is the fuel for autonomy. When you feel the inner conflict that I can't do this anymore, it's actually your conscience trying to align with your highest self. It's not a malfunction, it's a requirement. Before we move on to how to apply this framework, if this message is resonating with you in your own messy journey, please like and subscribe and join our tribe, the tribe of high achievers who's willing to look inside and be a better version of themselves. We need more people in the world who are not afraid to stand in the rubble of their lives and build the life that they want. Now that you are familiar with walking with the line of disintegration without letting it devour you, how do you differentiate between a breakdown and a breakthrough? Here are 3 tools to help you navigate the rubble. Audit and explore the tension, the why behind the ache. Instead of trying to numb your anxiety, get curious about it. Ask yourself, is this tension coming because I'm failing my own values or because I'm failing someone else's expectations? If you're anxious because you're not living up to a curated Instagram standard, that's negative tension. But if you're anxious because you know you have more to give the world, that's the creative tension Dabrowski talked about. Let that tension stay, steepen it. Don't fix it yet. Just notice it, be with it, walk with it. Name the lower habits. Disintegration often involves realizing that your coping mechanisms no longer work. Identify one habit you've used for primary integration. Maybe it's people-pleasing, staying silent to keep the peace, or overworking to avoid your feelings. That's me. I overwork, make these videos to avoid the world. I admit it. I'm talking truth here, my truth sometimes. Acknowledge that this habit served you when you were in level 1, but is too small for the person you are becoming. Consciously decide to let that habit break. Embrace the I don't know. The void is the scariest part of falling apart when you find yourself in conflict between where you are and where you want to be. When you leave your metaphorical chemistry degree and you aren't a principal dancer yet, you're just a guy on a bus to New York. Give yourself permission to be in the rubble phase. I was too young to know how risky that leap was to leave that unfinished degree. I remember going to class every day and struggling as my early days of becoming a dancer here and just being in that mess. I knew that chemistry was back there and that a dream was over there, and I had no idea how I was going to get there, but I was in that moment, in those classes, training myself in the rubble. I had no idea what was ahead. I was in the void, the rubble, for real, for real. When you step into the void of uncertainty as you strive for level 2 or level 3, you don't need a new identity today. You just need to be honest about the fact that the old one is gone. The very things we fear, anxiety, identity crisis, and falling apart, are the biological markers of your greatness. Mastering this mindset prepares you for the most difficult part of the journey, the transition. In our next episode, we're going to talk about the hallway between stages. We'll explore the psychology of liminal space, that terrifying void where you've left who you were, but you haven't yet arrived at who you're going to be. Don't be afraid of the break. Be afraid of staying integrated in a life that doesn't fill you. One planet, one tribe, one world, one love. I'll see you there.